Hi, my name is JC, and I'm here today to talk about the Cherry Bombs stitch pattern. Last week I wrote a post on Ravelry explaining how I created its stitch map. You can find links to the Ravelry post and to the stitch map in the description below this video. But in the video itself, I want to talk about the knit 9 together decreases that occur within this pattern. Specifically, I want to talk about how you can minimize bulk at the decrease points, which is a particular problem in brioche, and how you can get a knit 9 together decrease to be centered, which blends in so nicely with this cherry bombs pattern. Let's start with a simple fact. Any decrease that joins together 9 stitches is going to have some bulk to it, some bulk where the new stitch is joining together 9 existing loops. But this problem is somewhat worse with patterns where you're doing brioche using the slip and yarn over approach, what I call the brioche slip approach, because in that case, when you do a knit 9 together, you're joining not 9 loops, but up to 14 loops, unless you take preventative measures. And let's look at a preventative measure along those lines in a smaller situation first. So looking at this side of the fabric, if I were to join together these 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3 stitches, you can see that there are actually 5 loops involved. In order to minimize bulk at that decrease, I can simply slip off the needles the yarn over portions of these 2 stitches, such that they're not involved in the decrease at all, really. Let's take a look at an example of that. I'm going to knit over to that point. Typically in brioche, one does a brioche slip, a slip and yarn over, by bringing the yarn to the front, slipping zip to purl, and allowing the yarn to come over the needle to the back. Again, just like that, creating a pair. But if I'm going to be doing a decrease, I can get rid of the yarn over portions of these pairs. I can just simply slip that yarn over off and slip the stitch knitwise, slip this yarn over off, knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, and that gives me a left leaning double decrease with a minimum of bulk. There's only the 3 stitches, 3 loops brought together instead of 5 loops. And this approach works just fine for smaller decreases, but when we're talking about a larger decrease, a knit 9 together, you have to take a different approach. So I'm going to undo this decrease, put all those loops back on the needles, and show you what I mean. Put this yarn over back, go back a few more stitches. Normally, with this pattern, when doing brioche, I would alternate between doing either a knit or a purl and a brioche slip, where I did a slip and a yarn over at the same time. But on the row before the knit 9 togethers, those are on row 17, so on row 16, which is where I'm at right now, instead of doing a brioche slip as shown by the oval, there are places where I'm going to do a regular slip, no yarn over involved. It's going to look a little bit like this. Bring the yarn to the front, just slip the stitch. Now I can go ahead and knit the next one. Slip without doing a yarn over it, that's the second one. Third, fourth, and fifth in a row. So these 9 loops that you see right here are the ones that will be joined together on the following row. I'm going to continue on in pattern at this point. Knit 1, do 1 brioche slip, knit 1, and then it's time again to do some regular slips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't belong on the needles. Yes, it does. Put that back. Knit 1, do a brioche slip, knit one, and one last time in preparation for doing a decrease over these stitches on the following row, I'm going to slip regular, no yarn over. Do it a second time, third time, fourth, and fifth time. And now I can complete the rest of the row in just regular brioche. All right, now when I turn this around, I'm going to be ready to do row 17, where the decreases are going to take place right here. Now, question comes up, how do you do a knit 9 together? Let's get to that point in the pattern and review our options. I could, if I really wanted to, I suppose, get this needle tip into these 9 stitches, get both needles into all 9 stitches and knit them together as if it were a regular knit 2 together or knit 3 together. But you can imagine that that would be rather fiddly, rather difficult to do. And it would also be very lopsided. It would have all the stitches leaning one way. Another way to do it is to knit 1, pass it back to the left needle, and then continue passing the remaining 8 stitches over. But again, that's going to give me the same lopsided effect, and we're looking for something centered. So I'm going to put these stitches back. A different way of doing a knit 9 together, such that the end result is centered and such that you're not dealing with a lot of stitches at the same time, makes use of a cable needle. It works like so. I'm going to pass 8 stitches, the first 8 of the 9, onto the cable needle. And there's the 9th stitch of the 9 that needs to be joined together. I'm just going to knit this 9th stitch. So that'll be essentially the bottom stitch on the pile. Here's the new stitch that's a result of the decrease. The remainder of the decrease just involves passing the other 8 stitches over this new stitch, starting at the right end and then the left end and going back and forth, alternating ends of the cable needle. So I pass this one over. So 2 stitches have been joined. I can go to the left end of the cable needle, slip 1 stitch off the cable needle to the left needle, pass that stitch over. So 3 stitches have been joined together. Go back to the right end of the cable needle, place the decrease stitch on the cable needle, pass another stitch over it, and keep repeating this process, taking one of the stitches to be decreased and passing it over this stitch here, alternating from the left end of the cable needle to the right end of the cable needle. I'm almost there, more than halfway there. One more stitch is going to go from the cable needle to the left needle. It's going to get passed over what will be the final stitch right there. Now I can, for the last time, pass this to the cable needle, and I can pass both of these right over like so. And that's it for the cable needle for now. Take a look at the end result. There's our centered knit 9 together. And it was done, yes, with a lot of slipping back and forth, which is kind of tedious, but it didn't involve having to get both needle tips through a lot of stitches at the same time, which I really like. Let's take a look at that one more time. I'm going to, continuing on in pattern, I've done this decrease here, done a brioche slip just now. Now I need to do a 9 stitch increase, or increase from 1 stitch to 9, and I'm going to do that. Knit 1, yarn over, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's my increase. So this decrease here lost 8 stitches, this increase gained 8 stitches. It's time to do another one of those decreases. Again, get out a cable needle, slip 1 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 onto the cable needle. At the last of those 9, this is my decrease stitch. Now I'm just going to alternate from one end of the cable needle to the other and continue passing stitches one by one over this new stitch here. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. 6. Getting close. That's 7. 8 and 9. And there's another centered knit 9 together decrease. So there you have it. By slipping stitches in the row before a decrease in a brioche, rather than doing brioche slip and yarn over pairs, you minimize bulk at the decrease points. And with the help of a cable needle, you can create a lovely centered decrease. Thanks for listening in, and I hope to see you at stitchmaps.com.